Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into essential caravan maintenance, how to replace your wheel bearings, adjust your electric brakes and keep your setup road ready. So let's get started and we hope you find this video useful. So today is the day we are going to replace Sonny's wheel bearings. So last year we travelled Australia for about 7 months in total and we clocked up around 25,000 Ks in Sonny, and we have adjusted the wheel bearings along the way. We sort of just tensioned them up a little bit again. However, the last time we took it away just on the weekend a few weeks ago, I noticed one did feel a bit warmer than usual. So I mean, to replace these wheel bearings, we bought the kit off Huntsman products. So that's, if those of you who have watched our YouTube know that we put the Huntsman 1600 kilo off-road trailer kit in Sonny. So we purchased another set of wheel bearings. I think it cost us 68 bucks to do both wheels. So we just thought, rather than repacking them, because we didn't opt for the Japanese bearings when we got that kit, I'm pretty sure that they're just the standard Chinese ones. In saying that though, they have lasted us and we've taken it down some pretty rough roads. We'll overlay a bit of footage here of our lap. So we did take it to some pretty off-road tracks in the Pilbara, took it down to James Price Point and Kimberley, to Ningaloo, and lots of various other dirt roads and gravel roads and stuff throughout as well. So we thought, rather than repacking them, it's 68 bucks. I'd rather pay that than have a wheel bearing let go on us. So the only thing that didn't come in the kit is the split pins. So I just went to Super Cheap and bought some split pins as well. So yeah, we're going to do that today and hopefully, and adjust the electric brakes as well. So we thought they're probably due to be done as well. So we'll do that and the wheel bearings and just a little bit of other maintenance as we go. So in the kit from Huntsman, I'll just open the bag up. So in the kit, we got the dual kit, so to service both hubs. So we've got the Japanese bearings this time, so formerly known as Koyo. They're J-Tech, I think the new brand is now. You get your new caps and your seals. So yeah, so like I mentioned before, the only thing that didn't come in the kit was some split pins. So I just went and bought some from Super Cheap. I thought I may as well replace them while we're going. So just some general tools that you need. I've got the rattle gun there to undo the nuts. Just got some degreaser because it is going to be a messy job. Some brake cleaner in case we need it. Just some of those workshop gloves. We've got a punch set just because we will have to punch out the cups. So when we bought the kit, the cups come pressed in the hubs already, which is really handy. But now that we're replacing it, this kit comes with new cups, so we'll replace them as we go. So yeah, got the hammer for that. Got the punches, some pliers to do the split pin, the flat blade screwdriver just to take off the old grease caps. Now I've got some high temp bearing grease, a shifter to undo the castle nut, and just a grease gun. So there are some, we're just going to pack these bearings by hand. That's just what we've done previously and it's worked pretty good. Although when we did pack Sonny's bearings, when we put the kit in, we did it at my old man's place and he has one of those bearing packers that you can put the grease gun on the end of. So you can do that. That's probably a good way if you want to repack your old bearings. That way it is a bit easy. You don't really have to clean them out as such. It sort of forces the new grease in and pushes the old grease out. However, because we're packing new bearings, we're just going to do it by hand, and we'll probably use our grease gun to grease up the shackles and the jockey wheel and things like that as we go. So to jack the van up, we have left the stabilizers down, like they're just off the ground, just as a bit of a safety thing as well. But we're just using the bottle jack from the ute. We're just going to go in between the U-bolts of the leaf springs. I've just got a bit of a block of timber under there as well to give it a bit of a better base. We'll just go up just so the wheel's just off the ground. Cool. So this is where we now need to take off our grease cap. So I've just got the flat blade screwdriver and hammer, and we're just going to get in there, just work our way around. There we go. So the next step is to remove this split pin. So we'll use your pliers, straighten them out. Pull that out. Right, next we'll take off this castle nut. One thing I didn't mention, which is probably pretty self-explanatory, this is a very messy job, so you will need lots and lots of rags as well. So I just bought these chuck cloths from Super Cheap while I was there yesterday, because I reckon I'll be going through quite a few of them. So now that that nut's off, we just have to pull the hub off. Now, there might be a bit of resistance because the seal at the back might grab, so so tight. Oh, you know why? It's because the handbrake's on.
That'll do it.
There we go.
So, FYI, don't make sure your handbrake
Forgot to put
is off.
Oh, jeez. All right, so we are going to reuse that washer as well, so keep that aside. The old bearing, we'll have a good look at those, and not much point putting gloves on. We'll have a good look at that bearing soon. Set that aside. So now we should be able to take that hub off.
Wow. And
we'll have a bit of a look at it. Bit of brake dust in there actually. That's all right, we'll have a good look at that in a minute. So next you want to give this stub axle a good clean. So you might need a bit of degreaser and a rag, and just give it a really good clean. So we'll do that now. Yep. So one thing we'll quickly mention now, you might have to grab the camera, Elle, and get in a bit closer. So we will be adjusting these electric brakes. I think they need adjusting. Well, the handbrake was actually on before, and although I couldn't get the seal off because the shoes were clamped out, I could still sort of spin the wheel a bit. So we are going to do a bit of adjusting there, but I think we do have to adjust the electric brake. So if you have a look under there, there's a little winder, and there's also a little seal, which you actually do it from the inside of the hub. We'll come through there with a screwdriver, and you wind that. I'll just try and show you. If you wind that a certain way, it adjusts these out. So when you put your foot on the brake, this magnet will go to the, it'll magnetize to the hub, and it'll push these shoes out to hold, to brake against the hub. So we'll adjust that later, and we'll show you sort of what we do there. But otherwise, the brake shoes there look pretty good. There's still a fair bit of meat on them. There's no scoring or anything there, so they're just a bit dirty. So we'll give that a bit of a clean up, and yeah, should be good, I think. So we'll just give this hub a little bit of a clean up. There is a fair bit of brake dust in there. So the first bearing came out when we pulled the hub off, but you can see the cup still in there. So we will have to punch that out. But what we'll do first is on the back side of the hub, you've got your seal. So we'll punch this bearing and seal out in the one go, and then we can then go through the back and punch the other cup out. So I think it'll be best if we sit it up on some blocks. That way we've got a bit of room underneath for the bearing and everything to fall out. there goes the bearing and the seal. So the next thing is to punch out the cup. So if you have a look in there, I don't know whether you can see or not, it might be a little bit hard to see. There is you can just get the punch on the lip of that cup. So we'll punch that out and then we'll turn the hub around and we'll punch this cup out too. There we go, that cup just fell out. So we'll flip this hub over and we'll do the other side now. So you can see there's the old cup and the old bearing, which we'll have a look at soon, and the old seal. So we'll set them aside because you will need to reuse the cup, or one cup and one seal, just to help put the new ones in. So we'll flip this over and we'll punch out that other cup. There we go. So now we've got all the bearings, seal, and both cups pushed out of the hub. We need to go ahead and clean up this hub, get all the old grease out of it. So now that we've got everything pushed out of the hub, we've cleaned it up a bit with a bit of brake cleaner and wiped all the grease out. We're going to use the old cup to push the new cup in. So you can see there that one side has a small lip and one side has a bigger lip because the bearing is slightly tapered. So when we do that, I'll explain in a minute which way to do this, just so you don't get this one stuck in the hub as well. Because they're an interference fit, you do have to, this is actually slightly bigger than the diameter of the hub where it goes in. So that way when it's in, it sort of locks in nice and tight. So we'll use this to punch the new one in. So you can see there, that new one there's got Koyo on it. Don't know if you can see that. So yeah, we're gonna use the Japanese bearings this time. So we'll set that new bearing aside and we'll pack it shortly. So not to get them mixed up, we've got the Koyo bearing here. So that's going to go with the bigger surface face down. All right, so it tapers in. And then when we punch it in, we're going to make sure that we don't put it the thinner face to the thinner face for two reasons. If we use the wider face down, it will give us a bit more surface area, a bit more purchase to punch that in, but also it'll also give us the lip to be able to punch this one back out once we put this cup in. So we'll just go around, tap it in nice and evenly. Start it off. You just want to make sure it doesn't go in crooked. You want to make sure it goes in nice and square. So this is where we'll use our old cup. So at this point, that old cup is going to follow that one in, so it's okay. We'll just keep going until the bottom one or the new one is fully seated, and then because we've flipped this cup up the other way, we've got a good lip under there to be able to punch that one back out. I don't know if you heard then, you hear the sound of that change, and that's when you know it's seated all the way in. So now we can flip that over. I'll just show you in there, you can actually see that lip now, so we can punch that old one back out. Alright, so we've just punched that old one out and the new one's pushed in. So now we'll repeat the same process for this side. And yeah, go again. so that tone's just changed again, so we know that that's seated all the way in, so we'll flip it over and then punch that old ring back out. There we go. So both new cups pressed in, so now we just need to pack the new bearings and fit them up. So these are the new Koyo bearings, so it's L68149. Here's the part number, I think it is. These are the old Chinese bearings that came with the kit, and they actually don't look too bad. I mean, that spring's popped out from when I punched it out, I think, but this was the front one, and it still looks all right. There's no bronzing or scoring or anything on there to indicate that it's been really hot. So it actually doesn't look too bad, but for what it's worth, $68 for new bearings, seals, cups, it's probably worth it. So we'll go ahead and pack these now. So I've got the new Koyo bearings here, and we've got the high temp bearing grease. So we're gonna pack this now. So this is the messy job. So basically what you wanna do is get a nice big lump of grease on your hand. And now with the bearing, you wanna just slowly try and force that the grease in through the bearing until it sort of starts to push out through the top. You'll see it come through. I'll just try and go little by little and try and show you. So you can sort of start to see that grease work its way through the top. So you want to do that and make sure every roller is packed nice full of grease. So you can see they're starting to come through. We'll keep working it around. If you're finding this video helpful so far, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for future videos. Alright, so there's one bearing completely packed. I like to smear a little bit of grease around it on the outside, inside as well. So I'll set that aside and we'll get the other one done. Alright, so we've got both bearings packed. Just going to put a little bit of grease in the back of the seal, and then we can start assembling this hub back together. So we've got both new seals there. So just going to pop a little bit of grease in around that, and then we'll tap this into the back of the hub, or put the bearing in and then tap it into the back of the hub. Okay, so we've got the cups pressed into our hub. We've got our bearings greased up. I've added a little bit of grease to our new seal. Got the old seal here, which we're going to use to help us tap it in. But before we put any of these bearings in, I'm just going to put a nice little smear of grease around the inside of the hub there and around the cup. So we'll do that now. Okay, so got a bit of grease around the cup there. Pop our first bearing in. And then we can sit our new seal on, and we'll just try and get that kind of half started, but making sure that it goes in nice and square. Same thing again, you just don't want it to go in crooked. There it goes. So working our way around nice and even. That looks pretty good there. Can use the back end of the other seal, so the big end down, just to sort of seat that in a little bit. Don't want to go too far in the hub, we kind of just want to go reasonably flush. And that looks pretty good there, happy with that. So now we'll just flip this hub over. And I'll add just a little bit more grease to the inside of the hub now. So just before we slide the hub back on, we'll just give this stub axle just a bit of a coating of grease. Alright, so we've got the bearing at the back and the seal in. We've greased up our stub axle. So now we're just going to carefully slide this over the stub axle. Alright, so we've got our packed outer bearing. So I'll just put a little bit of grease on that cup again. Alright, so we'll put that on. That all looks pretty good. Push that in. Alright, so now we retained our old washer. So there is a slightly curved face to that. So we'll put the curved face facing out. Slide that on. And then we'll put our castellated nut on. So the way my dad showed me how to do this was you just want to tighten this up so you have a fair bit of tension on your wheel bearing, on your hub, sorry, until it sort of stops spinning. So keep spinning that and tightening it up. We'll just make sure it's sort of seated all the way. Now I think there is a technical term for this. I think it is called preload. So with new bearings, you want a little bit of preload, so a little bit of tension on it, and we'll do this a few times. So we'll just keep going until we can't spin the hub. We'll back it back off, spin it again. Let's do that a few times. So yeah, what I was saying before, sorry, with new bearings, I think you want a slight little bit of preload. And then the opposite end of that scale is, I think, called end float. And what that is, when you check a wheel bearing and you give it a bit of a shake and you can feel that slight bit of play, I think that there is called end float. So I think once you've repacked an old bearing and you put that back in, you want a little bit of end float rather than preload because they're already worn in. Whereas with new bearings, we want just the slightest little bit of preload. So we'll just go until that sort of spins all right, just with a tiny bit of tension. It's sort of hard to know how much. You kind of just go off feel, and then you just line up our castle nut with where it lines up with the hole in the end of the stub axle there. So if I went one more, it's not too bad. Just give that, tension that up a little bit more and then back it back off. So I'd say that's probably not too bad there. That's probably a little bit loose to start with, I reckon. So I think we'll go there. So the old split pin has sort of had it because we've had it, adjusted it a few times and she's a bit worn. So I've just gone to super cheap and bought these new split pins. So these ones here are 4mm by 50mm. So what we'll do is put that through there. And we'll grab our pliers and we'll bend that one there around. And then we can cut a little bit off the back of that. Then we'll just tap that back the other way. Alright, so the last thing there is to put our new grease cap on. So you probably don't have to put grease on the inside of that. I like to, I don't really know why, but anyways, it's up to you, personal preference. And I'm going to use my soft face hammer, or if you don't have a soft face hammer, you can use just your regular hammer with a bit of timber or something soft in between. So like the cups, this also is an interference fit, so that's just to help it seal out any water and dirt and stuff. So just go around, try and tap that on. Oops, that's not going on square. As square as you can. Just got the other side to go now. But what we'll show you is just how to adjust these electric brakes. while the wheel's on, when you adjust the brakes, you want the wheel off the ground. So we will have to probably crawl under the van now, and we'll show you from the back on how to do that. So on the back of the electric brake assembly, you've got these two little rubber grommets under here, so you'll have to pick that out. Just use a flat blade screwdriver. I think that just helps water and dirt and stuff getting in there, so we'll pop that out. Alright, so once we've popped these two caps off, you can see in this back cap that little splined wheel in there. So that's what we're going to use to adjust our electric brakes. So basically you want the wheel to be able to spin, and we're going to click it up, wind that wheel up until the brakes stop the wheel, and then we want to back it off around about 8 to 10 clicks. So we'll do that now. So you can hear that starting to kind of drag now. Just go a couple more clicks. And I think that a little bit more. That's starting to get a bit hard to turn now, so I'll just go a few more clicks. And that wheel is pretty solid there. So what we'll do is we'll back that off now. So we'll go the opposite direction, about 8 clicks. 7. Do the same to the other side. We'll just check that handbrake again. It might need adjusting as well. So I'll just pull up on the handbrake.
Joss is just going to pull up on the handbrake to see. Yep, that's stopped.
Stop.
Beautiful.
Can you turn the wheel at all?
No.
Alright, so last thing, just don't forget to pop those little dust caps back in. So I'll just go back in and pop them in now. Alright, with that all assembled, there's no playing that wheel now. We've got the brakes adjusted, wheel bearings in, so after we'll take it away a few times and then we'll lift it back up again and just check to see if there is any movement in those bearings. But yeah, so far it's all gone ahead nice and smooth. The handbrake's working again now, so happy days. We'll just lower this down now, take the jack out, tighten those wheel nuts up, and we're done. So the other thing we'll do while we're doing a bit of work on Sunny is grease up the shackles, and there's also a grease nipple on the jockey wheel, so we'll grease that up too. We'll pop that on there and we'll give that a few pumps of grease. And the last one left just on the jockey wheel. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you found this video useful. We'll check after the next few trips away. We'll jack it up again and just check that there's no play in that wheel bearing. But otherwise, yeah, hope you found it useful, and stay tuned for more videos to come. Thanks guys.